In this video, I'd like to talk about the math question of the day for Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. And with this problem, we need to know in how many ways can the letters in the word beach be rearranged. And a question like this, a permutation question, will sometimes be taught in Algebra 1. You might also see it in Algebra 2 or PreCalculus, depending on which school you go to. So at this point, go ahead and pause the video, see if you can work through this on your own. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we can go through this together. Now, assuming that you have attempted the problem, let's start working through it. And like I mentioned, this is called a permutation, which can be a little bit tricky. So let's start with a simpler example and think about how this might work. Let's say we're looking at the letters A, B, C, and we want to know how many different ways we can rearrange that. And in fact, we could start simpler. If we just have one letter, then obviously there's only one way we can arrange this. If we have two letters, notice we can switch the order, and there are two ways to arrange that. But if we have three letters, we have A, B, C, we can do A, C, B. Or we can start with B first and go AC or BCA. And we can also start with C first, CAB or CBA. We can count that there are 6 different ways to represent that. And you might notice a pattern. It might not be completely obvious, but these permutations involve what are known as factorials. Since 6 is really just 3 times 2 times 1, which we write as a factorial, 3 with this exclamation point. If you see a number with this exclamation point, it just means take that number and multiply all the whole numbers below that. Whereas 2, that's really just 2 times 1, or 2 factorial. And 1, of course, is 1 factorial. So you can imagine if we have 4 unique letters, that there are 24 ways to write this out, because that would be 4 factorial. 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And you can try this for yourself. Start with A first, then rearrange B, C, D. There's 6 ways to do that. Start with B first, and then you have A, C, D, and you can rearrange those in 6 ways. And starting with C and D, you will have 6 more from C and 6 more from D, getting 24 total. So you can probably guess at this point that this pattern will be extended. And since we don't have any duplicate letters, we don't have to worry about any complications there. But when you have 5 unique letters and you want to see how many ways you can rearrange this, it would be 5 factorial, or 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And this is 120. So this will be our final answer. The word beach can be arranged 120 times. Now, an alternative approach is to leave 5 open spaces, since we have 5 letters. And for this first space, we can ask, well, how many possible letters could we fit into this first space? And since we have 5 and we haven't used any, we can fit 5 there. But for this next space, we can ask the same question, how many letters could we possibly put here? But we've already used 1, so there's only 4 left. Then for this next space, we've used 2 of them, so there's 3 left. Then there's 2 left, and then 1 left. And we will use what's called the multiplication principle. If, let's say, we have 2 different events for placing this first letter and the second letter, and there are 5 ways of doing it for this first event, 4 ways for doing it for the second event, but we want both events to occur, then we multiply them. So we do 5 times 4. And that would be true if we have 5 events, or however many events we have, we would multiply all these together. So you can see we do end up with this 5 factorial by thinking it through from a different perspective. But either way you approach this, there are 120 ways to rearrange this. And of course, you could do this the hard way and actually list all of these out. You could start with B first, then you have these 4 letters, which could be arranged 24 different ways. Then you have E first, and again you have 4 letters that could be arranged 24 different ways. And essentially, you can do that 5 times total, and 5 times 24 is 120.